So here's a story that there are so many problems with this. Let me go ahead and throw it up there on screen for you. From the AP, U.S. accuses financial website of spreading Russian propaganda by Nomain Merchant. U.S. intelligence officials on Tuesday accused a conservative financial news website with a significant American readership of amplifying Kremlin propaganda, and alleged 5 media outlets targeting Ukrainians have taken direction from Russian spies. The officials said Zero Hedge, which has 1.2 million Twitter followers, published articles created by Moscow-controlled media that were then shared by outlets and people unaware of their nexus to Russian intelligence. The officials did not say whether they thought Zero Hedge knew of any links to spy agencies and did not allege direct links between the website and Russia. Remember that line. Zero Hedge denied the claims and said it tries to publish a wide spectrum of views that cover both sides of a given story. In a response posted online Tuesday morning, the website said it has never worked, collaborated, or cooperated with Russia, nor are there any links to spy agencies. The officials briefed the Associated Press on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive intelligence sources. It was the latest effort by President Joe Biden's administration to release U.S. intelligence findings about Russian activity involving Ukraine as part of a concerted push to expose and influence the moves of Russian President Vladimir Putin. U.S. officials previously accused Putin of planning a false flag operation to create a pretext for a new invasion of Ukraine and detailed what they believed are final stage Russian preparations for an assault. Okay. Literally in the article, where the point of the article is, Zero Hedge is Russian disinformation, they have the line that says, actually, we're not alleging direct links between the website and Russia at all. So wait, why are you writing the article? The whole point of the article is they're Russian disinformation, and then you admit in the article they're not Russian disinformation. And then, of course, naturally, you get the line about, we got this from like one intelligence agent, and it's on the condition of anonymity. So understand something. This is U.S. media being a stenographer for the U.S. intelligence agencies. You have one source, they're anonymous, they're in the intelligence agencies, and you just uncritically run what they say. So, ironically, you're doing the thing that you're accusing Zero Hedge of doing, just you're doing it with the U.S. government. I know that people are naive and silly and dumb, and oftentimes they think, well, if our guy said it, it must be true. But that's not accurate. We know that's not accurate. Look at the war in Iraq. Look at what happened in Syria. Look at what happened in Libya. Look at Russiagate. So many things wrong, all from intelligence sources in the U.S. And there's no reckoning with that. So I'm flabbergasted by this story. They admit in the story that we're not alleging the thing that we're literally alleging and is the whole point of the article. And of course, most people are just going to read the headline when they're scrolling through Twitter or something, and they're going to go, oh, would you look at that? This is Russian disinformation. We've seen this before. We saw this during the Bernie Sanders campaign. We saw this with the Proper Not list, where they had all these websites. Oh, these websites are influenced by Russia or by, foreign governments. And it was Truth Out and Truth Dig and Naked Capitalism, and all these lefty independent sites were on the list. And then guess what? Google deranked them in the algorithm and buried them and made them really hard to find. Do you not understand the game that's being played here? The game that's being played is, let's rig the algorithm, let's say distrust everything but the official State Department narrative, and let's hammer that home and have dupes fall for it. Now, I cannot get through this story. My blood is boiling just thinking about it. We just talked about this. This Russia-Ukraine situation, I've never seen the U.S. media shit the bed and jump the shark worse than this. The last time it was this bad was the Iraq War. I mean, this is worse than Russiagate, worse than Syria and Libya and all the other ones. Bloomberg and a couple other outlets ran articles saying Russia is invading Ukraine. Big headline, Russia invading Ukraine. They weren't invading Ukraine. That was fake news. That was misinformation. That was disinformation. Then they had to put their tail between their legs, and when it was obvious that wasn't happening, it was, oh, did we say that what happened was I meant the sun was in my eyes, and me and Craig and then was down by the Safeway, and new phone, who dis? And then, of course, we got so many outlets running with, Ukrainian president says Russia to invade on Wednesday. Russia to invade on Wednesday. Russia to invade on Wednesday. That was a total mistranslation. The Ukrainian president was joking, was saying like, yeah, I'm told by the media Russia's going to invade on Wednesday. He. And Western media just ran with it as if it was factual. You would think that if it's an issue as serious as war, potentially World War III, you'd want to double check. You'd want to be sure before you run that headline. Russia to invade Ukraine on Wednesday. You causing a gigantic panic among not just the population, probably among a lot of the officials in government. Like, this incredibly high stakes, and they get it wrong time and time again. Richard Engels of NBC News just ran a puff piece on the Azov battalion, it's a literal neo-Nazi battalion that are on the Ukrainian side. Look, I get it. You guys hate Russia. That's your narrative. Is it too much to ask to not do a puff piece on literal neo-Nazis? Is that too much to ask? Don't tell me about misinformation and disinformation until you look in the mirror, because you guys do it just as bad, if not worse, than anybody else. But of course, look, if you are part of that legacy media, you're just exempt from criticism. You're exempt from big tech crackdowns, from social media censorship, from deplatforming. You're just exempt. You get away with it. And there's no reckoning. And nobody acts like, well, that's a hit on your credibility. It's just glossed right over. By the way, they will call literally anything that questions their narrative Russian misinformation or disinformation. My segments on this were I tell you guys both perspectives. I tell you, hey, here's what the West is saying on what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. Here's the Russian perspective on it. Even just giving the Russian perspective is viewed as Russian disinformation. So unless you're just parroting the line, you're going to be accused of it. Do you understand how dishonest and disingenuous and disgusting this is? I really hope you do. They present no evidence. It's one anonymous source, and even in the article, they're like, this thing isn't true, even though it's the whole point of the article. U.S. media is simply an arm of the State Department, mainstream media, and they're an arm of corporate America and the establishment. That's it. And this is why nobody trusts you. This is why everybody's looking in other areas. This is why, they bitch and moan about Joe Rogan having a way bigger audience than them. Why do you think he has a bigger audience than you? He's not even a news person. He's a comedian doing a podcast. But they trust a 3-hour authentic, honest conversation much more for guidance in the world than this stuff. And you know what? They're not wrong. I have disagreements with Joe Rogan. I think the Malone and McCullough were terrible and they're wrong about the vaccines and everything. But it's not a surprise people trust Rogan more than they trust you. Look at what you do. You guys lie. You guys do misinformation and disinformation. You guys, there's never any accountability or owning up to it. And at the same time, you are the biggest offenders. You're pointing the finger at others and saying their misinformation and their disinformation. And there are actually consequences for the people they point out. I guarantee you that Zero Hedge is going to be in some way deranked in the algorithm, and, they're going to suffer a big problem in terms of their traffic. It's going to reduce massively because this is how this game is played. Now, by the way, I'm not swearing by Zero Hedge. I know the outlet. I don't think they're the best outlet. They're not my favorite outlet, but that doesn't matter. What matters is the people with all the power and all the control are making false accusations as they're actually the bigger offenders. Please tell me at this late date you guys see the game that's being played. Please tell me. Because it's never been more obvious and more transparent. This should disgust you. And unfortunately, I don't think most people have the media literacy to see through this obvious con that's unfolding right in front of our eyes. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.